It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the council to be in session. minutes after 10. We have Mr. Burnson, Mrs. Chick, Mr. Fuhr, Ms. Goldberg, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Holden, Mrs. Sikowski, Mrs. Walters. We have 9 members present. We need 1 for a quorum. Sergeant, would you go see if you can find 1 member? Ms. Galanter, Mr. Ridley Thomas, Mr. Savornich, Mr. Wax.
How did you second that thing for, You're the short number.
For a particular reason.
I got a Sicilian number. I forget everything but the grudge. I don't care.
Council will please come to order. Call the roll.
Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fuhr, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Ridley Thomas, Savornich, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, let me point out that this is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 18th day of May, 1999. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. So the first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Burnson moves, Mr. Hernandez second. If there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote. Members of the council and ladies and gentlemen, we have a very distinguished visitor into the council chamber today, and I don't mean the mayor. I mean this Andrew Ramirez, the very famous Angelino. Cindy. We do have some presentations, so.
I call on Mr. Ferraro.
Madam President and members of the council, have the great honor today to join with the mayor to make some presentations to Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez. And with that, I'd like to have the mayor come up along with Andrew Ramirez and his brother Steve Ramirez, who's a detective in our own police department. Steve?
Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez? Ramirez is the right pronunciation. Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez is truly a local and a national hero. And as I saw the faces of his brother, Detective Steve Ramirez, and the rest of his family, the pride in their eyes, I realized that this is a young man who has proven himself under difficult circumstances. I asked him if he was ever afraid. Of course, he had a hood over his head for 5 straight days, and he said, yes, I was afraid, but I'm proud I did the best I can, and my advice to all young people is if you do the best you can all the time, you can get out of tough circumstances, you can be successful. So Andrew, we're very proud of you, and we're proud that you're our hero. We're going to make several presentations to you, but one thing is the City of Los Angeles does not have a key because we have no locks on our doors. We're open to everybody. But I would like to give you this very special Franklin Mint medallion, which has the insignia of the City of Los Angeles, and it's my great pride and pleasure to give this to you.
Mr. Mayor, I think the chief has something he wants to make a presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of Chief Parks and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, it's indeed an honor to be here today and to say welcome home and to say how happy we are. The chief often talks about the LAPD family, and this is kind of a literal situation where we have a member of the organization who is a detective whose brother was called in to offer himself up in service of his country. And of course, he performed admirably and under difficult circumstances, and he returns to us. And we are indeed quite proud that he's here with us today. On behalf of all of us at the department, we would like to present this commendation and say thank you and tell you how much we appreciate your efforts. And then I have to tell you that, of course, with all the time that I've spent with Councilmember Chick and Councilmember Goldberg from Public Safety and Personnel, I think this is a great opportunity for me to tell you that we are looking for good people to join this organization, and we would be delighted if you would consider a career once you left the military, a career with the LAPD. So on behalf of the LAPD, not only a commendation for you, but a job offer.
Thank you, Chief Gaston. Let me, on behalf of the City Council, present a plaque to you, Andrew. This has got all the names of the council members. I don't know if we can put his name on there.
Steve, get in there.
And we have a certificate here. It says, "Welcome home, Staff Sergeant Andrew Ramirez. Safe and sound to Los Angeles, the land of the double-double." That's In-N-Out Burger, in case you didn't know what that meant. We salute you for your brave service to our country and rejoice in your freedom. And this is signed by all members of the council, including the mayor. Andrew, you have 10 minutes to respond. Go ahead.
I just, like everyone might know, I'm not much of a speaker, but just to thank the city of Los Angeles and everything that they've done for me. You know, not just now, but the whole time I was growing up. It's a great city. I love it. You know, I'm very happy to come back. You know, and I will come back here soon when I decide to get out of the Army. And I got a job offer, my first one so far, so it's looking pretty good for me. But I'd just like to thank everybody that's done so much, all the support that they gave my family, you know, in the difficult times, because it was very difficult for them. You know, probably I would think more difficult for what I went through was for them not knowing what I was going through. But I'd just like to thank everybody once again, and thank you for the pleasure of coming here and presenting me with this beautiful gifts. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Take pictures with each councilman. Sure.
You see, we should go around the back.
Doesn't he have the greatest face?
Huh?
He has the greatest face. Oh, I like it. Yeah.
We're going to have a public comment.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
The council will come to order, please. Members of the council, with your permission, I'd like to, at this time, have the public comment period. And we have Maria Elena Durazo, Altagracia Perez, and Cristina Chavez Delgado. Would they? Would you give your name, please?
My name is Christine Chavez Delgado. I'm here today to urge the City Council to intervene regarding the USC matter. Maria Elena Durazo, the president of Local 11, the Hotel Employees Union, is in her 9th day of fasting on water only. I'm urging you to take action now and go visit President Samples at USC and ask him to resolve this issue today. When my grandfather Caesar fasted, people sprang into action. They did extraordinary things. This fast is no different from when my grandfather fasted. It's about respecting workers For 4 years, the workers at USC have been suffering. The issue is very basic. It's about job security. The workers live in constant fear every day of being fired. It shouldn't have to come to this. Maria Elena shouldn't have to jeopardize her health. The farm worker movement and the Chavez family is urging the City Council to take action today on this very important issue. After this session, please sacrifice your lunch and go and see Dr. Samples and ask him to resolve this issue. Your priority should be to go to USC and meet with the president today and ask and demand that he resolve this matter. Maria Elena has opened our eyes to this injustice at USC, and my grandfather Caesar would have been proud to stand here with her today. I have a letter here that I'd like to read. It's a letter from my grandmother, Helen Chavez, regarding a plaque that was dedicated to my grandfather over at USC. The letter reads, "Dear President Sample, we are deeply concerned about the injustices by USC that has caused Maria Elena Durazo to fast for 9 days. On behalf of the Chavez family, we ask you to negotiate with the workers and resolve this matter. If this does not happen, we will need to take action to remove the plaque honoring my husband, Cesar E. Chavez. In the meantime, until a contract is signed, we ask that you allow the covering put over the plaque by my granddaughters, Christine and Cynthia, to not be removed. My late husband would not have wanted his life's work to be honored by a plaque in a place where so many workers are suffering. Please respect our wishes and resolve this dispute. Sincerely, Helen Chavez." So when we leave here today, we'll be going over to USC and covering the plaque that's there to honor my grandfather. We're going to take immediate action to have this matter resolved, and I hope that you will do the same. I'd like to bring up Maria Elena, who would also like to say a few words now. Thank you. And I also have copies of the letter for everybody.
Good morning. I am on my 9th day of water-only fast. While I have given up food, I believe that this is little compared to the risks and the sacrifices that hundreds of workers at USC and throughout Los Angeles have given in order to win a better life for their children and our communities. In spite of written and verbal threats, intimidations, the workers have engaged courageously in 4 work stoppages. After a 14-day strike that last May, all of the workers were suspended for several days for participating in the strike. Others were suspended even longer for participating in a nonviolent civil disobedience on the streets outside of the campus led by Reverend James Lawson. But that was not enough punishment. USC then ordered all of the food service strikers with the highest seniority to work cleaning dorms during the summer at several dollars an hour cut in pay. Marisela Frutos, a strike leader, was falsely accused of hurting a chef's finger during the strike. USC's own internal investigation found her to be innocent, but they still refused to pay her for 2 months she had been suspended. This fast represents a plea to you and other leaders to do something to stop such an enormously wealthy corporation like USC, and there are others like New Otani and the New Billionaires Club in Los Angeles, throughout our city, from taking food from the poor to make the rich richer. This fast represents the risks and the sacrifices of workers throughout Los Angeles, like the Argonbright workers at LAX, to win the basic needs that God decided that all human beings have a right to. We ask you as a city council to personally visit Dr. Sample, the president of USC, and urge him to use the power at his command to respect minimal job protection. And I want to end by quoting Caesar at his longest fast of 33 days. The fast is for those who know that they could or should do more, for those who by not acting become bystanders, for those who know what is right. It pains me that we are too patient and understanding of those who use their power to hurt other human beings. I thank you very much, President of the Council Ferraro, for taking us and giving us this time this morning.
My name is the Reverend Altagracia Perez. I'm an Episcopal priest of St. Philip the Evangelist, a community church in the USC community. And I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for City Council to take a moment and stand up to a challenge to leadership and to do what is right, to show that in Los Angeles we are all working together to make the city better, not just for some, but for all. I think that 4 years without a contract is really long enough. I think that the discussions, the prayers, the negotiations, the conversations that have all taken place have shown good faith, and that the least that can happen is that now, at this critical time, they be able to come together and have a conversation and negotiate in good faith. I think that for a country that right now is going through a process of telling people that everyone must work and that all work has dignity, I think the City Council has a chance to show that that's really true in Los Angeles. And I hope that you will give up your lunch. Last week I fasted 3 days and was reminded that there are a lot more important things than getting through the drive-thru in McDonald's. And so I want to encourage you to take the time to go and, with the power that you have as the City Council, talk to this, one of the largest corporations in our city, and say that you will stand to make sure that there's a balance of power in the city and that they do the right thing by the workers. Thank you. Actually, if I could just say, I want you to know that I know leadership is not easy, and just that as a pastor, you can each count on my prayers for you, and that I will be praying that you have the courage to do the right thing, even if it's not the easy thing. Thank you very much.
Just a second. Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, I think we've had two heroes here this morning. First, of course, Sergeant Ramirez, and now Maria Elena Durazo. I don't know if it will do any good or not, but I, for one, am certainly willing to go over during my lunch today and see if I can see President Sample. And I would urge that any of the others of you who are able to do so to let me know. We can go together as a delegation and at least have some conversation about this issue. I certainly would like to see this come to a closure. Obviously, 4 years is a long time for workers to not have a contract. We've done in this council a great deal by way of leadership in terms of living wage. I think there are other kinds of leadership, and sometimes it's just being present and being there. So I would hope that Ms. Chick is going to join me. Thank you. And any others, Mr. Wax also, any others who are able to do so, I would be very pleased to try and lead a delegation at lunchtime today at the close of council.
Thank you. The public comment period is closed. Maria, we want to thank you for coming today, and please eat something, will you? The next item.
On the regular agenda, items 1, 2, and 17 are public hearing items.
We don't have any cards. Anybody want to be heard on 1, 2, or 17? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on any 1, 2, or 17? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 17. Next item.
Items number 3 through 20, except for item 17, it's already been acted on, which are items which public hearings have been held.
Any specials by council members? 5. Any specials by council members other than 5? If not, prepare the roll on 3 through 20. We're now got to 22 yet. 9 and 5 are called special. I mean 20, not 9. 5 and 20. If so, prepare the roll on 3 through 19 with the exception of 5 and 17, which has already been acted on. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 16. Next group.
Items number 21 through 40.
40.
21 through 40.
Forthwith on 15. 30 special. We have cards on 29, 33, 35. We'll call those special. Anybody want to be heard on any of the other ones?
Item 22, Mr. President. We just have a friendly amendment.
We haven't acted on 22 yet. The public hearing's closed on all those, but I've called out, and 22 is called special.
Right, for purpose of friendly amendment.
Mr.
I'm calling 22 special.
Hernandez called it special. 28 is called special. Any other specials?
And item 34, we're going to be sending to committee, Mr. President, to Arts, Health, and Humanities.
34? 34 to committee. There's no objection. That will be the order. 29, I think somebody wants to be heard on 29H, so we'll exclude that one. 29H, and the other balance will be okay. So prepare the roll on. I'll do it now. We have from 21, 22 is called special. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 is called special. 29H is called special. 30 is called special. 31 and 32, 33 is a card. 34 has been sent to committee, and 35 through is a special, and 36 through 40. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Those are approved. 40, we have 41, there's 2 on one file. I need a motion. I will call that special. And we have 42 and 43. Anybody want to be heard on any of those items? 42 and 43. Seeing none, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Those are approved. Okay, Mr. Burnson, you call, huh? 44 is special. 44 is called special. Do you want 43? Okay, there are no objections. 43 will be reconsidered for the purpose for Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to know if the funding for these positions is in the current year's budget and if it's also in the 99-2000 budget. If not, I would move that this go to committee.
Ron, that's 43. Do you know about that, or you want to send it to committee? 43. Or Paul?
It's approving 20 staff positions in various expense accounts to fund the background investigation section in Personnel Department's Public Safety Equipment Division, Employment Division, sorry. Who has,
We'll leave it on the desk.
okay.
Huh? Okay, we'll do that later. Okay, the next item would be item 5. Mr. Burnson, do you call 5 special?
Yes, I wonder if somebody from Public Works would come forward here.
Change the time.
The reason I called this special, members of the council, this is for a name change of one of the main streets in the San Fernando Valley. And I just wonder what type of groundwork has been done, and what is the significance of this name that they want to impose, taking the name of a portion of one of the key streets in the San Fernando Valley, if not perhaps the key street. So maybe somebody can give me that information, and maybe somebody can tell me why the reason for this is, and also what type of approval has it been subjected to from the community? Not just overall community, but I mean the people that are directly impacted by this change. So could you give us that answer?
Yes, Councilman Roger Oldenkamp, the Bureau of Engineering. This name change was requested through the CD7. It was processed through the notification process as required by the municipal code, went through the Public Works Committee hearing process, and it's now before you for consideration. As far as the background of why this particular name change, the significance, I'd like to refer to a representative from Council District 7.
I also want to know if there's been any sign-off by the people that are impacted along that way and by the people who live adjacent to it. Can you give me that information, please?
Yes, sir. Alvin Kusamoto, Chief of Staff for Council District 7. I just want to state that Councilman Burnson is correct that Van Nuys Boulevard is the major boulevard through the valley. However, this section of Van Nuys Boulevard is not connected to the main sections. This section is isolated from the remainder of Van Nuys Boulevard. It is in the community of Lakeview Terrace.
How is it separated?
It does not connect. It is west of or northwest of the 110 freeway. And so it's actually a residential street.
Oh, I see.
And the name change was requested by the residents who live along that street.
Fine, that's all I wanted to know, and with that, I remove any objection.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to be heard on 5? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 20, called special.
Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like the CRA staff to come forward and give this report.
Change the time.
I had to
3 minutes.
get a report from a council person because I wasn't given one that's not with council materials today. So I'd like them to step forward and make this report. And with your permission, I have a couple of questions when they finish. Thank you.
All of this over here, the sergeant needs to lend an assist in terms of maintaining some modicum of order. It's difficult to hear at best. Eddie, don't be bashful, man.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members. I'm Roy Willis, Deputy Administrator for the Community Redevelopment Agency. This is a status report on the Adams La Brea Commercial Development Project. The project came to City Council on April 7th for approval of an exclusive right to negotiate with the Adams La Brea Development Partnership. The principal in that organization is Ron Sims, who's a major commercial developer. This item had previously been approved by our board and went to the HNCR committee before coming to council. Since that time, we've been having discussions with the developer to focus on several key issues. Of course, one big issue is the relocation. There are 63 parcels involved, approximately 77 residential units and 20 businesses that would be affected or might need to be relocated. We see this as a major undertaking. However, we have been having discussions with the Los Angeles Housing Department, as well as looking at our own housing production. And as we look at both of those pipelines, we're beginning to identify possible relocations resources for the housing. And just as for other major redevelopment projects, we will be very careful in making sure that for those parties who would be relocated, they would be very carefully explain what their rights are under redevelopment law, and we would work very carefully with them to make sure that they're properly relocated. That involves both residential relocatees as well as commercial relocatees. Members of the council, we have been working with the mayor's office, with the business team, with the economic development unit to look at how we could get some infrastructure funds into the project, possibly from the Economic Development Administration, and also looking at the Genesis LA project as a possible resource for this project. I might add in closing that when the redevelopment project area for Mid-Cities was adopted in 1996, we went through a careful process with the community. They identified this project as a very high priority. They wanted to bring economic development to this community, more jobs and business opportunities for minorities and small businesses, and we have been working in consultation with the PAC. We have briefed the PAC carefully. We met with the community, where we've worked with the council office. So we think we have a very good partnership underway to bring about a very careful commercial redevelopment of this area, and yet at the same time protect the rights of those who would be relocated. We do know that it's a very big undertaking, but we feel up to it, and we want to work with all parties to make sure that we get the jobs, the economic development, and make sure that everybody's properly relocated. With that, I'll stop for questions.
All right, Mrs. Walters.
Yes. Again, as I'm reading the report that was sent to another council person, no report has been received by myself. And there's none, apparently you didn't submit it to the city clerk in time for it to be included in the council materials. This says approximately 77 residential units and 20 businesses would need to be relocated to develop the project. And you speak of occasions of sending out requests for proposals and sending out statements of interest. Right. But your statements of interest were asking of any plans or intentions that the property owners had for redeveloping their property. At any time, did you inform these 77 owners of the 77 residential units and 20 businesses that their homes would be taken and that they would need to relocate?
Well, first of all, the letter that you're referring to is the one from our administrator, John Malloy, dated May 14th. We thought that that did get, no, it went to the council president, but we thought it was distributed to all council members.
I don't have a letter dated May 14th. What I have is dated May 6th, and I just received it from another council person who had only received it a couple of minutes prior to the time he handed it to me. So if there's a letter of May 14th, we don't know about it, but I'd like the answer to the question, please.
Well, to send out the statement of interest to all property owners is consistent with the our redevelopment process, and we've had a number of meetings. I have my project manager who might want to speak to that, but it's our understanding.
I didn't ask whether that letter was consistent. I asked whether the letter
Ms.
informed...
Walters, just a moment. Mr. President, really, it's tough to hear. Yeah, and,
I say that quite often, and
well, now,
it doesn't
Mr.
make any
Curry
sense.
and we can't hear you declare that, Mr. President. Mr. Banks, please help. I'm standing right next to Ms. Walters and Harley Harris.
Eminent domain is the last resort.
My question was whether or not the letter to property owners asking them if they were interested in redeveloping their property stated that their properties, they would lose their homes, all of these homes, 77 residential units, single families and duplex units, would have to be relocated, and 20 businesses that they would have to move, whether they were interested in redeveloping the property or not.
The statement of interest did indicate that we would be planning to undertake a redevelopment project and that these property owners could be affected, assuming that we went through the process and got to the point that we were actually going to have a real project. We just got permission to enter into negotiations. But I can assure you, Councilmember Walters, that there has been a lot of discussion about this with the various property owners and with the full community. And before we get to any point of actually taking property, which we don't know we're going to do that yet or not, because the negotiations could fall apart.
Oh, come on, you know whether you're going to take that property, and the community does not know that their homes are going to be taken.
It's my
The Girl Scouts do not know. They're right there on the corner of Adams and La Brea.
Okay.
They do not know that all of this is going on about their property. And then you sat there and you said that the community wanted it because of more jobs and small businesses for minority owners. They're in committee, and you were there, I believe, and you heard the discussion. The gentleman next to you said they wanted to put like a Walmart, some big box retailer there. That's not opportunities for small businesses. That's a big box that'll destroy the community.
All right, Mr. Walters.
Mr. President.
There would be big boxes, but as we understand as we negotiate the layout, there will be smaller businesses, and there will be opportunities for smaller merchants to also participate in this. So, and also the various, whether they're lawyers or planners or architects or contractors, there would still be opportunities for small businesses and for minority businesses in this process as well.
All right, Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, I think it should be appreciated that the majority of the members of the council have redevelopment projects that we wish to see happen. And so, in my view, this is not whether redevelopment is appropriate or not. It is essentially a question of whether or not there's been due notice, and if in fact the issue of eminent domain, that is the taking of property, has been fully and clearly disclosed to those who have been who will be directly impacted. The other issue that makes this of concern is the confusion and/or inconsistency, perhaps, on the part of the staff in terms of reporting. The first time the issue was raised, there was a question, and I believe Ms. Goldberg raised a question quite explicitly about residential impacts. And when doing so, the question was posed directly to Mr. Holden, and Mr. Holden didn't seem to be able to answer the question at the time and deferred to staff. Staff did not answer specifically or definitively. The statement was essentially, we're going to take as little as we can. Well, then we learned that there's a specific number of parcels that would be impacted. Then we were told that some were vacant. Then we got conflicting information on that. And so this is what has caused the concern. When you talk about eminent domain, obviously, Mr. Soleil, obviously, Mr. Willis, it's a very significant issue for all of us. So I would like to know about the issue of notification. And it is pretty explicitly laid out as to what the rules are, the line of attack as it relates to moving through the process, what that is. What about the issue of replacement housing? What about the issue of relocation? Those are issues that seem to me to be very important when we talk about eminent domain in a residential area. And finally, you talked about the pipeline. Are we talking about one-to-one with respect to replacement, Mr. Willis? Are we talking about citywide, or are we talking about specific to this project? Is the agency required to bear the balance in terms of expanding the subsidy, or is this essentially to be borne by the developer? It seems to me that these are the questions that are important to clarify, and they may not be important to some, but they absolutely are important to others, and we have to know because, as a matter of fact, all of us are affected in this regard. I'd like some answers to those questions, please.
Well, on the question of notification, Mr. Councilman, I can assure you that we have undertaken due notification to the property owners and those who will be affected. We are in the point.
Just a brief clarification. Now, the notification had to happen more than once because it wasn't done properly in the first instance. Is that the case, Mr. Soleil? Did you have to go back out again?
No, it isn't, Councilman.
Mr. Soleil, I'll ask you the question again. Did the process have to be repeated, as you were aware of?
Right. No, the process does not have to be repeated.
No, not does it. Apparently, it was done, and you are saying no to the wrong thing, I think. I'm trying to get you to
Mr. Ridley Thomas, your time's up. Let him answer your first question. You wanted clarification of the process.
All right, maybe you
Let's
can
go on.
restate the first question, Ms. Glanter.
Not me, it's your question.
Well, then I'm trying to get an
You
answer
asked,
to
I
it.
believe you asked for clarification, and I was going to give them an opportunity to clarify before I call the next speaker. Why don't you restate the question?
Thank you very much. It is essentially whether or not there was a need to implement the notification procedures more than once because of the fact that it was not done properly in the first instance. Now, this is prior to the October date that you referred to in 1998. Do you recall, Mr. Soleil?
Okay, now
Thank you,
answer
Ms.
the
Galante.
question.
Yes, I do, Councilman. The notification to the community in reference to the statement of interest was followed through the proper procedures. At no time did we have to re-notify the community because of an error that was done previously.
All right.
The notification in the staff report stipulate of the different times, approximately 4 times, where we have notified
Okay.
the PAC and the community of the continual procedure processing as far as the statement of interest.
We're talking about directed parties. We're not talking about the PAC or the community generally defined, Mr. Soleil. Impacted parties.
May I?
Are you finished? No, I'm going to suggest when you are finished that Mr. Ridley Thomas press his button again. I
I'll
have
do
3
that.
more people who want to speak.
I'll do that.
Did you want to say anything further in response to that?
In this stage of the process, the procedural processing is the statement of interest. At this time, councilpersons, all we have now is an exclusive right to negotiate with a developer. We do not know at this time if we have even a project. It depends upon the negotiation to give us the determination whether a project is here or not.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I really wanted to just understand the nature of the project, which I didn't the first time. There is no developer for this area, is that correct?
That is not correct, council member. There is a proposed developer that the agency has a exclusive right to negotiate for a period of 180 days.
And who's that developer?
The developer is called Adams LeBrere Limited Partnership. The principal is an individual named Ron Sims.
Okay. So there's a developer.
Yes.
And that developer wants to put what on this property?
He wants to put major commercial development that would include a balance of big boxes, as we call it, major developer, major stores that would include electronic type stores, home improvement type stores the usual big boxes, plus some smaller type retail that one would normally find, such as it could be cleaners, it could be more boutique.
Does he have any signed leases?
At this point, no. What we pointed out was that in addition to the relocation, we might have put too much emphasis on that, but the other thing that we're looking at is the type of tenants that he would be able to bring. He is in active discussion with a number of major tenants, but no leases have been signed at this point. That's part of what we'll be looking at.
I just want to say for the record, having been burned twice, that without signed leases, nothing should go forward. Absolutely nothing. Because if you do things based on the promises of people who do not have signed leases, you end up building stuff, displacing folks, and you end up with empty boxes, or in my case, an empty pad that's still sitting there empty, waiting for a supermarket, because allegedly they had just about gotten all of the things done. They were in serious conversations with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This would seem to me to be even further an important principle if you're going to talk about taking people's property by eminent domain. I think it's hard enough to take it even when you've got something that is in the bag and you know is going to happen. That's a tough thing to do. But I really think it's even worse. Now, how many residential properties are involved in this?
77.
77, and how many are occupied?
There are 20 owner-occupied. All of them are occupied.
Yeah, there are 20 owner-occupied. They're all occupied. In some cases, there are owners living there. In other cases, there are tenants.
So there's 20 owner-occupied, so that would leave 57 that are renting but are in homes or apartments.
Correct.
Okay. And all of that property is deemed to be necessary based on the hope that we'll get leases signed for this developer. Is that it?
In order to have a well-rounded development, we believe that it's all necessary. And a lot of these houses are right up against the freeway, and
I only have another second. I just want to conclude with this little note of caution. We have Crown Hill right next to my district. And before I came on council, I saw hundreds of housing units removed, hundreds of businesses removed, based on that there would someday be major things there. And now there aren't those major things there, but all those people lost their homes, lost their rental units, lost their businesses. And I just think that to do things like this based on the speculation or the hope is a very dangerous thing to do. It's, as I said, I think eminent domain is a terribly powerful tool, but unless you know what's going to happen and you have it in the bag and you know things are on the dotted line, I think this is a very dangerous thing. We end up amassing large amounts of property. In this case, it was done privately, although I think CRA helped them.
Okay. Mr. Holden.
First of all, Mr. President, members, Madam President, there is no project. We're following a process that we traditionally follow when we have a redevelopment area and then a project. Now, anyone in this amongst us who have or propose in their districts to have a redevelopment project, you have to go through this process, period. My question to you, are you deviating from the process specified by law, state, federal, city?
No, we are not.
Have you followed this process for other projects? Yes or no?
Yes.
Did we raise the same kind of questions during those time periods? Yes or no?
Yeah, we're always concerned about the
That is
issues of
correct.
relocation.
That is correct. And it's proper that we are concerned about whether or not the process is being adhered to, period. Now, I would say to you that for those of you who want to see the truth, must know what the affected area looks like. Yes, there are some residential properties in the area. Yes, you have vacancies because the earthquake knocked them down and you had the civil unrest, and they're not considered amongst those 20 businesses or even the residential property that we're talking about. but they are properties that been taken care of by other means, unfortunately. And so we had hoped to have someone interested enough, with enough, showing enough interest, to come in and create some economic development. This is a project that the mayor identified as one of the projects that he was including. I think Mr. Thomas was there, over at the Baldwin Theater, Magic Johnson. He identified this as one of the projects that he is helping to initiate. Fine. If you want to bring some economic development to the community, I'll support you in that regard. I personally think that we ought to go forward, number one, but be mindful of what happened to Ms. Goldberg. We are not going to remove or ask anybody to move just to create a vacant lot. My history on that is well documented. The Ambassador Hotel is such a project where they want to declare a historical monument. And I said, if you do that, after 1 year, they'll demolish the building because nobody's going to buy it to preserve it. That's been about 9-10 years ago, and the building is still standing because I didn't want to see a vacant lot there. Nor do I want to see a vacant lot here in this area, as bad as some of this property looks. I would suggest to you that we have some kind of a clause, as you begin to negotiate, that says that if we go through the process and we are deceived and the project does not commence in terms of being developed for a period of time, there got to be some kind of a penalty assessment, which we have not ever had incorporated in this kind of a project. A penalty assessment shall be employed. Stipulate to that before you go forward. And I see nothing wrong with that. It will protect the city, it protect the residents in the area, it protect the businesses in the area, and at the same time give some latitude for interested parties who want to develop in the inner city to do just that. I think we all have development projects.
Thank you, Mr. Holden.
Just some people over here talked much longer, so I can give you another 10
Well, I'm
seconds.
letting you run over too, but we do have somebody from the public who wants to speak.
Just about another 10 seconds.
And I'd
All right.
encourage you to press your button again too.
All right, thank you. Never mind, I'll press my button again.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have somebody from the public who wants to speak, so I'm going to call Lucinda Starrett.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Starrett from Latham & Watkins, and I represent the developer of this project, the Adams La Brea Partnership, and Ronald Sims. We're just here to say that this project is consistent with the Mid-City Redevelopment Plan, which was unanimously adopted by the council. The particular site that is being proposed is a site that was identified in that plan by the Community Advisory Committee, as I think Mr. Soleil said, for redevelopment. We look forward to working with the community. That's been a very active process that Mr. Holden has encouraged, and the CRA has worked very actively with us. This is only an exclusive right to negotiate. This is a project where we have a private sector developer, and Ron Sims has done a number of successful projects in the city, coming forward in response to the city's redevelopment plan and saying, let's see if we can make this work. That's our effort. We are engaging already in voluntary acquisitions of many of the homes. And again, I think the staff indicated that the responses they got to the statement of intent, many of the responses were from people who said, I'd like to sell my home. So we do have a number of people in this area who are interested in working with us. We have a very positive relationship with the Community Advisory Committee. We're looking forward to working with the agency. And if this project can be put together, it will come back to the council in the form of a disposition and development agreement for the council to consider at that time. So we appreciate very much the chance to work with the city, the leadership of Councilman Holden, and we look forward to working for a very good project for the community.
What happened to Mr. Hernandez? Mr. Hernandez was up next.
You know, the only reason I'm standing up to ask some questions is, are you doing anything different here than, let's say, what you've done in other redevelopment areas?
No, we're not.
Is that the inference I'm trying to, is that what someone is trying to say is happening here? That's what Mr. Ridley Thomas is saying. And you've used eminent domain in other areas of the city. Have you ever used it, for example, Mr. Ridley Thomas's district?
I don't recall.
Okay, it's never been used.
Precluded.
Okay.
On residential.
Right, but it's
That's
never
the
been
trick.
used.
It's precluded on residential projects.
Okay. Now, you used it in what they call Bunker Hill?
Long time ago.
Right. And that's part of the image you have to overcome.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, I think a lot of questions are being asked, rightfully so. The agency has to make sure that every step it takes is one that takes into consideration the residents of the area that live there. And so I think that that's why a lot of the questions are being asked. I think that what we're looking for as a council, as a governing body, is assurances that every one of those considerations is going to be taken into account. Because, for example, we just passed the Westlake redevelopment plan, and the council was able to basically preserve the right that they have to approve it before you can go through eminent domain proceedings. And that's very much mixed-use zoning, and it's difficult to tell the difference between what is a business and what is a residential, especially when you have a landlord who is in the business of renting apartments. How can those kinds of assurances be provided to the full council and to Mr. Holden and to his constituents?
Councilmember, we can assure this body that eminent domain will be used as a matter of last resort if we get to that point. I think the developer has stated, or the representative of the developer has stated, that they are looking at private acquisition without any use of eminent domain, and we think acquisition can take place in that form, and that I want to assure this body that in the event that we have a project and it gets to the point that eminent domain would have to be used, it would be a matter of last resort, and all the care would be taken to make sure that if people have to be relocated, that they will get adequate funds and housing to get resettled in housing that's certainly as good as what they're in, and more than likely better than what they're living in. So
You said you want to bring that to the council before you close the deal. I think that's the question.
Exactly. After we finish the negotiations after 6 months, we will be back to the council to explain in detail the configuration of that aspect.
Okay, Mr. Wax.
The way we've dealt with eminent domain, at least in the redevelopment projects in the second district, and I think we just added this recently in one in Mr. Hernandez, is simply to provide that no condemnation no condemnation can take place unless it comes to the council and is approved on a case-by-case basis. Is that requirement in this particular redevelopment project area?
No, it's not.
Okay, I really think that you could resolve this whole issue by putting that requirement in. That way, when any individual piece goes to be, if there's a proposal to condemn it, we get to weigh the facts as they exist at that time, all of the factors. You know, who's going to be dislocated, how are they going to be treated, what's going on there, what agreements are in place. All the questions that are hypothecated now can be looked on then in terms of, excuse me, in terms of making a decision at that time. I can't, by a motion, I'm sure, amend your redevelopment project at this time, because you have to go through a process to do that. Ultimately, you have to go through the commission, come to the council with it and all. But I would like to make a motion, at least to go down in that direction, that the council would express its intent or instruct the CRA that no condemnation shall take place without it first coming to the council and be approved.
Second.
And I frankly think that's not just true with this project.
All of
I
them.
think that should be true. I believe that should be true in every redevelopment project in the city. That's how, years ago, we overcame the fears that came from Bunker Hill and all to allow the people in North Hollywood go along with it. They were assured that not a single condemnation would take place unless and until there was a fair hearing with the kind of hearing you need on a case-by-case basis. And you allay a lot of the fears and the wonders about what might happen and all of that if you have that process in place. So I would, to the extent we could do this, I'd like to move that the CRA be instructed that on this and any other projects that no condemnation take place without first having be specifically approved by the city council. And that way,
Second.
you've got it. And the rules for that are, some require 8 votes, some require 10 votes, I believe it is, depending upon how many votes there are, whether there's an emergency involved and all, and you get to debate it. It's hard to do this in a vacuum, because, and it's almost unfair to the project or to ourselves to do it in a vacuum. But give the people that assurance that nobody will have their property condemned without first coming to this city council and having it approved and going through the lengthy process and the public process that requires of notification and participation of affected people prior to any case. And that has to be done for each parcel, each property in which there would be an action. So I would move that, Mr. President. I would ask the city attorney to just help me word it in a way that would have the most impact, barring the ability to actually go ahead now and change the redevelopment plan, which we can't do without a weird process.
Okay.
Mr. Wax, I could second that, but it's got to be the plan, not each individual property, because you're talking about one specific area. Your plan for A, plan for B, plan for this location, plan for relocation, plan for eminent domain, if you get that far. It's very possible that they can get all, that they'll acquire all of it. So I can
Mr.
second
Fuhr.
The motion, Nate, to clear it, was simply that no condemnation take place without specific approval by the council before it goes.
They can present a plan. Fine, I'll support that.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to point out for the record that it was Mr. Wax who used the word hypothecate in the last conversation.
Yeah, well, something's wrong with him, we know that.
And I thought Joel's motion was actually a very important one, not just for this case, but for the other cases we'll hear. I have a question. When apartment renters are displaced in projects like this, they obviously aren't entitled to any fair market valuation that comes with eminent domain. What do they get?
Well, first of all, we do have to inventory the number of people that are there, the number of bedrooms, and
No, I understand.
and we make sure that
I'm
they
a
get.
tenant to be displaced in this project or elsewhere.
Right.
What happens to me?
We provide assistance to make sure that they get relocated to a comparable or better unit.
What does assistance mean?
It is both technical and financial.
What financial assistance do you provide?
That's pretty. Go ahead. why don't you-
It's probably not too pretty if you're being displaced. What is it?
Okay, Councilperson, the financial assistance is governed by a state law in the redevelopment plan. I believe approximately $4,500 to $5,500 per family in the household. May I please continue? Okay. Also, in this particular case, where we know there are X number of tenants, what the agency and the developer and the housing department is looking at is to be somewhat creative in taking individuals who are now tenants and possibly working with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac to become first-time homeowners by utilizing the assistance and relocation benefits that they will be receiving from the developer.
All right, well, no one's going to buy a house with $5,500. That assistance is not going to leverage anything.
I think those are
The
tenants.
reason-
They're the tenants, aren't they?
They are the tenants, Council.
No, I know. I'm talking about the tenants for a specific reason. And if it was noisy over there before, it is deafening on this side now. It was said in a prior argument by Councilman Holden that the council, as recently as the arena, moved to displace tenants and did so with impunity. Well, the fact is, in that situation, the council provided for replacement housing in a much more powerful way than is being suggested would be available in this case. So the situations are not the same. The argument doesn't fly here. And I wanted to, before we end up displacing tenants as well as homeowners here and in the future, I think the only eminent domain matter on which I've been involved as a council member has been the arena situation. And I think that will continue to be handled in a way that will make the city proud of how these tenants were ultimately handled. In this case, the answers so far leave me to be concerned about this. And before we displace any tenants here, I'm going to want assurances that the package that is much more particular than what's been defined here. Maybe 45, maybe 55, maybe helping people find a place. That means maybe not helping people find a place. I want to know a lot more before we approve anything here.
When we bring the actual agreement back, we will be much more specific on that. But I can assure you that people will be adequately housed and will probably end up in much better housing than they are living in now, because those are dilapidated housing. We're talking about building new housing, and they will be relocated
I want to change the probable to the certain. And that's why I want to have you come back with more specificity.
We'll bring that back to you, Council.
Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Willis, the agency insists on kind of calling this housing dilapidated housing. It's a lot better than a lot of people in this city live in today. Most of the housing in that area are stucco, small stucco, California-style bungalows, as you know if you've been there. It's not dilapidated housing. My question goes along the same lines as Mr. Fuhr, and with the question, do private sales have the same guarantees attached to them for purchase and replacement that are required of government replacement? If we enter into eminent domain, we're required to relocate people to safe, sanitary housing that is comparable to or better than the housing which they previously occupied. Now, my experience with the agency, the arena, on those replacements was that a number of those folks came to my office and brought to my attention the fact that the agency was not processing their claims in an expeditious manner. And I had a couple of meetings with the agency to try to get that worked through and get these people settled in housing that they had found. And I want to know, when you talk about the private developer going and purchasing housing, do they have the same, does the property owner or the renter have the same guarantees that they do if a public agency is doing it under eminent domain?
Well, certainly, if they are purchasing housing, I'm sure that they're going to be paying
I'm not talking about what you're
rate.
sure of if they're purchasing. I'm talking about what is the law with respect to the private developers acquiring property for development without the use of eminent domain. How does that impact the property owner? Do they get fair market value? Are they guaranteed safe, decent, comparable property relocation, as good as or better? What rights do they have under a private purchaser agreement?
Council member, every acquisition that the agency assists in within a redevelopment is done through following the California redevelopment law
I
at
asked
reference.
about the developer doing private acquisition. You said that the developer's out acquiring properties now. We haven't even agreed to a development agreement. He's out there acquiring properties.
What the developer, what the representative of the developer stated, I do believe, is that the developer is buying property at fair market value. Now, that we are not acquiring property now. We do not have a project now.
Under whatever, Mr. Soule, is occurring at this moment, does the owner of the property have the same kinds of guarantees for fair treatment that are included in the relocation in the redevelopment law?
Council member, if the proposed developer is acquiring property, the owners, he has all the legal responsibility to follow in the acquisition of property. The agency is not assisting the developer with any acquisition at this time.
Mrs. Walters, your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Burnson.
I don't want to get in the middle of this battle. I just want to suggest one tool that can be used when you're dealing with potential inverse condemnation or condemnation for a project. And one of the ways to do that when your project isn't certain, but you have a potential, is to approach the people in the community and give them and obtain an option to buy their property at some future date. And that alleviates a lot of the problems down the road because, particularly if you're fair on your pricing, and I think you should be. So regardless of where this conversation is going, I think this is just a report, and I think we have a lot of business to take care of. And I appreciate but all of us have dealt with redevelopment projects in the past. I know I served on the Blue Ribbon Committee for downtown. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't do the right thing, but our redevelopment process has improved tremendously from the old days before the legislation at the state level that safeguarded it and made it responsible. And I think that the purpose of it, if it's done properly, is correct if we control administrative costs. One of the tools that I might suggest is when you know you have a potential project, before you displace people, or obviously Mr. Wax's comments about having people on a lease that are on the line, that are going to be there, so you're not going to have a vacant lot or a vacant piece of property or vacant building, is to ensure that. But one of the ways in dealing with the community is always concerned about displacement. I've noticed even in the most legitimate cases, people are concerned about having their property taken. And the way to do that is to have somebody in public relations and real estate type individuals to go to the community and offer them a fair price for their house with a contingency to buy it. In other words, an option to buy it should the development project go forward, a redevelopment project go forward. That way, at least you're taking them in at an early date, letting them know what's going on, letting them know the potential that maybe it won't happen, but if it does, they're going to get a fair price for their property, and they, in turn, can make plans. I've seen these things in the past. Once upon a time in the San Fernando Valley, there was a freeway that was called the Whitnall Freeway, and the state went and bought all the properties, actually, or was going to bought some of the properties, didn't buy them all, and was going to buy the rest. And the people that were involved, that owned these homes, didn't know what to do. They had no conception of what they were going to get for their property, and consequently, the property values went down. And I think that was the purpose, maybe, that the state used to try to get the cost of acquiring these things down. I think that's wrong. I think if we're going to take people out of their homes or their business, we have to pay them what the going price is at that time, not when the project is already and they have to a distress sale. So I just want to throw that out for what it's worth.
Thank you. Ms. Galanter.
I move the previous question on this status report.
All right, prepare the roll on the previous question. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes, 3 noes.
And that's been approved. We haven't voted yet. We have item number 20 before us.
We have an amending motion.
What is the amending motion?
Wax
Mr.
Ridley Thomas instruct the CRA that on this and any other project, no condemnation take place until council specifically approves.
Okay. All right, there's no objection to that motion. Mr. Holden seconded. So now we have 20 as amended. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item number 22.
Item 22. Mr. Hernandez called that.
Mr. President, all I wanted to do is make sure that Aging is able to amend the contracts according to the total amount of funding that they receive. And that's, at this time, Aging had prepared contracts for a 12-month period based on an assumption that they were going to be receiving a certain amount of money. I think that money could change based on the council action that we took yesterday in regards to the $1 million for LA's Best that could go back into the human service delivery system and increase the amount of dollars they'd be getting based on a percentage-wise. It could also and there's disagreement as to what action the council actually took, but in our last committee meeting, it was my understanding aging was to get the same amount of funding for 6 months from that they received last year, and then the additional 6 months as part of the human service delivery system, they would get the same percentage that they always got, not necessarily the same dollar figure. And at that meeting, Mr. Fuhr, your representative was there, Ms. Goldberg and I were there, Ms. Ridley Thomas, and so these contracts were prepared prior to that understanding, and so those dollar figures could change, and so I wanted to pass, but I want aging to understand that amendments might have to be made to the contracts regarding the funding. What those final dollar figures are, we don't know right now.
That's not a problem, Councilman. We're accustomed to adjusting our contracts based on funding levels changing. So once we know the final figure, we will come back with a transmittal amending those contracts to reflect that change.
Okay, and Mr. President, this is again a reflection of the importance of the human service delivery system and the fact that we have taken certain actions that limited those dollar figures. And a lot of these, when we separated funding, it was based on percentages, and that was what my understanding was. And so what we want to do is try and be fair to everybody, and we don't want to prohibit the programs from continuing, and so hopefully this will be satisfactory.
Okay, anyone else want to be heard? If not, prepare the roll on 22, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
We'll send that, that's approved, we'll send it forthwith.
Yes.
Next item.
Item 28, called special by Councilmember Wax.
Mr. Wax, you called 28 special.
Yeah, I would like that the staff will first tell us exactly what the lease is for, and secondly, whether or not the needs could be filled by leasing property that the city, using property that the city already owns, as opposed to leasing privately owned property.
Good morning. My name is Reginald Jones Sawyer, General Services Department. The current lease is for the Department of Planning at the 6251 Van Nuys address. Staff at this facility will move into the new Van Nuys City Hall upon its completion, which will be about approximately mid-2001. Until that time, planning has requested that to remain in their current location. Cost to relocate to another site for a short term would be prohibitively expensive. The Department of General Services has looked at the lease. We've examined other properties in the area. The closest, for example, the closest DWP city facility is not in the proximity that the department would like. In addition, the lease cost at that particular facility is $1.63. This lease is for $1.38. It's a much better cost. But principally, the reason we're here is because it's close to the Civic Center, it's close to where building and safety and other permit people are right now.
And there are no city properties
No.
in the area that could serve the same function?
No, the only city property that has is the one that was mentioned, AOB, for the Department of Water and Power. It's a little over 5 miles away. The City Planning Department has been in this particular location for 10 years. It is anticipated they would stay another 2 years. We are hoping that by that time we have...
They would move into city
Well,
property
they will move
eventually.
into, we're finalizing right now a report to come to council relative to a new civic center building in Van Nuys and rehabbing of the existing city hall that's there. It's on the verge of being, our office and the CEOs will have a report on that.
Will the new Civic Center building in Van Nuys also be able to accommodate other departments that are currently leasing privately owned property?
Yes, definitely.
And are their leases short-term enough that when the Civic Center is completed, they'll be able to move in?
Yes, they are.
So that we won't be having vacant property in the Civic Center while they're paying money to rent someplace else?
That's correct.
Right. The AOB situation is one that's relative to the police department and possible use of it for a police station, and we're currently reviewing...
That's at the, you mean at the Anthony building?
The Anthony,
Yeah.
AOB, Anthony Office Building, I'm sorry.
Everything has to have what do you call it?
Acronym, I think is the
Is
word.
that named after Joe Anthony? Or-
Go ahead.
Jim Anthony, actually. It was in...
Okay, Mr.
Jim
Wax.
Anthony which was a principal engineer of the Department of Water and Power. In any event, that was and is under consideration relative to a police station and future police station in the valley, 19th or 20th, depending on which one you want to talk about. And we're looking at the economics of that relative to 911 and a whole series.
What's the time frame for that? Because the point that's being made is that the city prevailed upon the Department of Water and Power not to either sell or rent out that space, and yet, so they're holding it blank, empty, and not getting the revenues that they could from buyers that are interested or tenants that are interested, and they're not getting the revenue, and
Right.
yet we're not using it, and we're now going out and using other private properties. So, in a sense,
I think that's going to be resolved in the next 30 to 60 days.
okay. 30 to 60 days would be good. I mean,
The
I think
situation,
that's
just to
reassuring.
understand, one of the problems is that our view is that the property isn't worth quite as much as what they think it's
Yeah,
worth.
and I think that's fair. We should drive a tough bargain, but
We are.
if we can resolve it in the next 30 to 60 days, then I think that that will be satisfactory.
Fine.
Okay. Ms. Goldberg?
Yes, I was actually looking at number 27, which is what I thought had been called special, but now I'll just look at it as by comparison. 27 is actually twice as much per square, well, not twice as much, 1.5 times per square foot as 28. And I just really want to know a little bit more about whether or not we have a policy of having a certain dollar amount, or, at 117th and La Cienega is pretty far south. I can't imagine that a mile or two north of there it wouldn't be less expensive to rent. And a mile or two north is not far to ask people to travel. So I mean, what do we do about this? Do we ask folks to look at, seems to me that when you spend $250,000 on rent, on the one above it, and on this one, $154,000 on rent, that location changes, in just a mile or two in the city of Los Angeles.
Ms. Goldberg, the Municipal Facilities Committee heard this, and basically it was based on a plea by the city attorney's office that if they were not in the same facility as the courtroom, and they had to even go several miles, that it would really produce inefficiencies in attorneys being available to the courtrooms, to the judges, et cetera. And it was determined that it would probably be more cost-effective to have the attorneys in the building where the courts were.
Well, I know a lot of attorneys who make a lot of money who travel a mile or two to get to the courts.
But these are officers of the court. I mean, they are not attorneys who have a case once in a while. They have daily caseload in the, I mean, they're in the courtroom every day. That is their job.
Well, in that case, it's even easier. They could
seems,
just drive there in the morning.
It seems the time's
I
got our
don't know.
attention.
I just worry about this kind of stuff because, 100,000 more than we have to pay here, 100,000 more than you have to pay there, you get to $1 million in 10 of those. It just, in any case, it's too late. I thought you had called 27 special, and I didn't, and I'm not asked to reconsider at this point. But I do think that we do need to be looking at the difference of a mile. I'm not suggesting that people who work at 117th and La Cienega should be located downtown. I mean, I understand that, but a mile or two away, I know the property values and leases are much less.
However, you do, just for a comment, you have to factor in the time, which would be at city time to drive to and from, parking, probably mileage, and a whole other, at the end of the day, not only efficiencies, but money, and those attorneys who make a lot of money
I
do.
give up.
Okay, Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, we did look at this with some care in committee. I think you're correct, Mr. President. The article in today's Times did prompt some of the discussion, and perhaps appropriately so that everyone can have a level of comfort. But I assure you that we did look at this with care. It did go through the appropriate processes, and we can enjoy a fair degree of confidence that this is a defensible decision. The additional point that I wish to make is that the Van Nuys Civic Center, as it is being generically referred to, is one of 6 such projects that we hope to cause to come to fruition, one on the east side, the west side in Hollywood, one in San Pedro. These constituent service centers are part of a plan to bring decentralized city services to the constituents in the immediate area so that they are not then inconvenienced by having to travel far away from their places of residence or work in order to take advantage of city services. And so I think all of this needs to be thought about when we move forward of items of this sort, because there is a larger context in which these things should be viewed. And toward that end, Mr. President, I would urge that we adopt this and move it forthwith.
Okay, we have item 28. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item 29.
Item 29 is Mayor Leonard Shapiro on 29H.
Mr. President and council members, item 29H concerns green power. The Department of Water and Power sponsored an event last Thursday called Green Power, and visitors attending the event viewed electric vehicles and wind turbine blades. Now, I think it's a good idea to let the public know when the DWP starts going into competition that it's getting a good part of its energy from green power methods, that it knows that it's going to get used as much as it can. Geothermal sources, wind, water, battery power, solar power, and fuel cells. I think it's great that they should just talk about the wind turbine and electric vehicles. But I think inasmuch as there was a lot of talk only 5 or 6 years ago about geothermal energy, that somebody ought to get involved in that again, even though there was a bad deal that was involved. But, and I also think we ought to get more involved in solar and fuel cells. Mr. President.
Christopher's speech?
Yeah.
You see what he said about it?
Yeah.
That's it.
The public hearing is closed. Any discussion on 29H? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Kind of carried away. Prevented fisticuffs in the council.
Okay, the next item.
Item number 30, called special.
Mr. Burnson.
Yes, members of the council, this item would actually diminish City of Los Angeles's authority in dealing with the commission at the Coliseum, and I think this should be further discussed, and I would move that it go to your committee?
IGR.
IGR, to go to IGR committee. I think it needs to be discussed, and before we act on it.
Okay. Mr. Wax, did you want to be heard?
Well,
I'd
might the maker of the motion be heard?
If Mr. Ritter Thomas wants to go first as the maker of the motion,
Go ahead,
but I'm then going to speak to support Mr. Burnson's position. So
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Let me just simply say that there is no difficulty with this going to committee. That's appropriate. But as we make that decision, may I suggest the following. This, in effect, gives the City of Los Angeles, Mr. Burnson, more authority over the entirety of the park, all 6 of its venues. Be mindful of the fact that when we talk about Exposition Park, we're talking about a science center that's going to build 2 new phases, a natural history museum that's embarking on a major renovation, the new Science Center School, a regional academy focusing on math, arts, science, and technology, the new intergenerational community center run by Rec and Parks, the Rose Garden, the California African American Museum. It seems to me that I'm sorry? No, you're not, obviously. And the point that I'm trying to make, Hal, is that there's a lot going on in this park. And one of the interesting things that to be appreciated, that construction on a number of these projects happens to be about to happen in such a way that unless there is a centralized governance and management, this park will spin into dysfunctionality as no one has seen before. So that's part of the effort to bring some modicum of clarity and coherence here. The disarray and disrepair that the park fell into for so many years, one fact alone will be helpful. When we began to look at this, we learned that the grounds maintenance on the park had not received increased in allocation since 1984 Olympics, up until the current fiscal year. And so there's a need for attention and leadership all the way around. I think the motion to refer it to committee so people can become more acquainted with at stake here is certainly appropriate, and I would be glad to support that.
Okay, Mr. Wax?
Yes, Mr. President, I think Mr. Ridley Thomas has a very good point in the need for a consolidation and an overall governance for all of the facilities in the Exposition Park area. What happens at one impacts on the other, and it's critical that we look at that as a whole, but that's only one part of the coin, Mr. Ridley Thomas. The other part of the coin is, in doing so, what is the role of the city, what is the role of the county, and what is the role of the state? Insofar as, say, the Coliseum today, the city has a third, the county has a third, and the state has a third. Under this proposed bill, as I read it, the city's authority would be diminished. We would go down to 2. The county would go down, and the state would become the majority. And even though we would have a little say in everything, we would lose an equal say in some of the most important facilities. So I think that the two aren't necessarily incompatible. You can certainly have a consolidated governance for the entire thing and still maintain the relative ratio of the city, the county, and the state. I don't want to, having a little bit of everything, if I'm going to be overruled automatically by the state on everything, really is nothing in practical effect. And so I don't want to give up power for example, on the Coliseum, which is a very critical facility, in order to get a perpetual minority voice over some of the other things. I think we can exercise our authority in those in a number of ways, such as trying to provide the funding that you tried to do on the bond issue, other things that we provide in some of those other facilities. So the point of this is yes, having a more coordinated overall governance of all of the Exposition Park facilities is a good idea. The city losing power and authority and the county losing power and authority is not a good idea. And I think that we should work to somehow change this so that we can achieve both goals.
Yep. Mr. Hernandez?
Mr. President, the reason I rise is I have some concerns about this issue, and I think that at committee we want to use the perception being introduced by Mr. Wax as what kind of legislation we want to support regarding this authority. I just want to point out to the debate we had yesterday on El Pueblo de Los Angeles' authority. And there was a trilateral agreement there that was in place that basically did not function. And it was an agreement of the city making appointments, it was an agreement of the state making appointments, and the county making appointments, very much like you have before you now, being proposed. And 45 years happened without anything really happening there, and a lot of disagreement. Now, that authority, we created an authority where we took over jurisdiction, but in doing it, we straddled a lot of extra expenses that didn't exist there before. And so looking at the process, I think, is extremely important as to what is in the best interest of the park, Exposition Park as a whole, and how can it operate and function properly. Because turning it over to the state doesn't automatically mean the state's going to fund it. There could still be certain requirements. And so, again, I just wanted to introduce the perception.
Okay, it's going to go to committee, and Mr. Holden will call the meeting, and I'm sure that everybody will...
Mr. President, let me just simply suggest, and Mr. Brunson, I trust this is a friendly amendment. If we can have this back within a couple of weeks so that we can move along, I would certainly think that would be useful.
Okay.
I would so move.
Okay, we'll get that back in a couple of weeks or as soon as possible. Okay, members of the council, we have some lawsuits that are very important that we get to. And I think that we should go in executive session at this time and take care of those lawsuits. Mr. Alatorre has asked that item 44 be continued one day. Is there any objections to that? Mr. Alatorre has asked 44 continue one day, so if there are no objections, we'll continue that. So, I think we did, but,
15, 16, and 17 are forthwith.
yeah. Okay. Can we, Mr. Mrs. Walters? Mrs. 43, were you,
I have the information.
you
You
have
want
the
to turn my
information?
mic on? Yes, I have the information. Mr. Deaton, if you want to explain it, since I raised it publicly, it needs to be on the record.
Hiring of those people to do the background, it was contemplated in the budget and was actually in the Blue Book that we would hire these ahead of time. And so this is in conformance with what we did yesterday, and so I would recommend that we proceed with it.
Ms. Goldberg, did you want to be heard on this?
Yes, just that the police department used to do this and is stopped doing it, and stopped doing it suddenly, and now they have this problem, and it was contemplated, as I said, in the budget, so I'd ask for an aye vote.
Okay.
Oh, okay, then prepare the roll on 43.
43.
43. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that. And we'll hold those other ones on the desk, and we'll go into executive session, so everybody not involved with the...
Excuse me, Mr. President, in order to go into closed session, the council needs to make the findings that the need to act arose after the posting, and there's an immediate need to act. This is the case of Kimple and, or Williams, excuse me, Kimple versus Williams, and we have to be in court on Friday. Certain items came to the attention of the city attorney's office yesterday, and therefore, we're asking the council to go into
That's
closed
a special one. So
That's special one.
Prepare the roll on the findings. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Now we have it before us, and we'll take that up in executive session. So Sergeant, Chief, help clear the room, will you please? Be useful for a change. Okay, we're back in session. The next item,
Item 33 called special.
Leonard Shapiro. Anyone here want to be heard on 33? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion? If not, prepare the roll on 33. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item,
Item 35.
Leonard Shapiro. Anybody want to be heard on 35? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion? If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item,
Item 41 on the supplemental agenda, a motion is required to adopt either A or B.
41. Whose district is that?
CD 12.
Mr. Burnson?
In Finance Committee, which was the Planning Department's, the Planning, Land Use Management? I would move B, authorize the city planning to transfer $152,000 for the Major Projects Review Trust Fund for city indirect costs associated with Porter Ranch supplemental fee. This money was put up by Porter Ranch to pay for these extra forces, and what has happened is that the department has not brought extra forces in to deal with regular projects. So I would move B.
Okay,
What he's doing.
prepare the roll. On Mr. Burnson's motion, tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
That is approved.
Forthwith.
Forthwith on that. Next item,
Motions for posting and referral.
there's no objections, unanimous vote.
Council members' request for excuse from attendance at council meetings. Councilmember Alatorre requests to be excused on May 19th to leave early for city business. This meets policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Goldberg requests to be excused on Wednesday, May 19th to leave at 11:45 for city business. Meets policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Galanter
Wait a
requests to be
minute,
excused
Did you say Alatorre wanted to be excused on the 19th?
on the 19th, yes.
All day?
To leave early.
Oh,
Doesn't
leave early.
denote a time.
We continued 44.
44 was continued until the 18th, or excuse me, till the 19th,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Galanter requests to be excused on June 18th for city business.
Unanimous vote.
The desk is clear.
The desk is clear. Do we have some adjourning motions?
Yes, I have some, Mr. President.
Would everyone please stand? Mr. Burnson?
Yes, I'd ask that we adjourn in honor of respect to Ashley Boehm, who passed away on Tuesday, May 11th. She was a 14-year-old and died from cystic fibrosis. Because of her illness, was unable to graduate from high school at home. She's survived by her parents, Linda and Gary Boehm, brother Zach, who also suffers from the same disease, age 17, and sister Emily, who is ill with asthma. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Emily Pilkington. She was the young lady who was involved in the car crash in my district, hitting a truck which was illegally parked on a bridge overcrossing the 118 freeway. And this is a case where the balloons, because the roof was opened, they opened the sunroof, and these balloons which were there rose up and blocked her vision, and she hit this car, and her passenger died in the crash, and that was Emily Pilkington. She she's survived by her parents. Also, a very sad one, another two young people, Mark and Jennifer Johnson. They passed away on May 11th and May 9th.
Oh, we did that one.
We did this, these were
Yeah,
the two
they
that were killed in the slide. Those
Yes.
were constituents of mine, but anyway, thank you very much.
I'd just like to...
Ms. Chick?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on the adjournment in memory of Emily Pinkleton, that I was in that neighborhood. The parents live in CD7 on Saturday, and met Neil Pilkington. And I don't know the details, colleagues, but this is a family that has had more than its fair share of tragedies, because the father was telling me that their son lost his life in a drive-by shooting the prior year. So.
Mr. Holden?
President, members, we have a young man here, Mr. Quentin R. Chandler, just born in June 18th, 1978, New Orleans, Louisiana, to his mother, Renetta, Oliver, and Darrell James Chandler. He attended elementary school at Santa Monica Christian School in New Orleans. Quentin and his mother, Joy, moved to Los Angeles in 1989, where he attended Audubon Junior High School and Crenshaw High School. He passed away at an early age of 21, leaves his father, Darrell, his stepfather, Mr. Banks, and brother Devin, Noran, and Banks, the grandparents, Claudette Houston and Mary Chandler, and a host of aunts and cousins and friends.
I have one announcement also, Mr. Farrar.
Mr. Burnson?
The Planning Land Use Management Committee will meet at 1:30. That'll give everybody an opportunity to have some lunch. Also, I want to add one thing on this situation. The vehicle that was struck was illegally parked, and I'm going to look into, maybe this isn't the proper time, but I think that we need to get some enforcement on these trucks that are parked illegally on some of these places.
All right, call the roll.
We're about to end the meeting.
The council is adjourned.